can quickly turn violent, but conflicts don't have to end that way. There's one woman who is trying to save lives in Baltimore using mediation, and she's recruited a former criminal to help her stop the violence.
The sirens, the crime scene tape, and the evidence markers, all familiar signs of the violence in Baltimore City. Erica Bridgeford has been hit by the reality of this scene not once, but twice. Two of her brothers shot in 6 years' time. One survived and one didn't.
I became way more passionate about what peace really is about and the difference between peace and revenge and where my power really lies, and that my power lies in my voice and using it.
So she set out on a mission to change the world by helping other people come to the same realization, starting with Baltimore, determined to help people resolve conflicts without someone going to jail or dying. She works for Community Mediation Maryland, a nonprofit serving all 17 community mediation centers in the state.
We get referrals from courts when people have assault charges. And so I believe that it saves lives, because the very thing that my brother got shot over and was dead on arrival for, I've mediated those kinds of cases, and people have survived and come up with plans that really work for them and are realistic in their lives.
She describes it as both a powerful blessing and sad. Bridgeford says she wishes more people realized their options in a conflict before it was too late.
People often escalate, stab each other, shoot each other. People think that conflict in Baltimore is mostly about drugs. Drugs have always been around, but this level of violence hasn't. And so it is about the way our society views conflict, and that, violence is power, and people are constantly searching for power, especially in a conflict.
That power, Bridgeford said, can come from another place, the seemingly simple choice to sit down and have a discussion. So often, though, it's not an option, as she's learned from talking to young people in the community about what they say life is like in these streets.
And they were saying that this is a day and age where if you fight somebody and you win, then you are afraid that they're going to bring a whole crew of people back to jump you, stomp you, whatever. Or if they lose the fight, they might come back shooting. And so the mentality, especially for a lot of today's youth, is I'm going to get you before you get me.
Someone who knows that way of life well is Cornell Anderson. He says growing up, every conflict he ever had ended in violence.
I'm sitting outside and somebody could be sitting right next to me shooting at somebody across the street. And me just being out of my mind at the time, I'm just like laughing, because to me it was like funny. It was something I was accustomed to.
It's not the case anymore. Today, he's working as an intake specialist at the Community Mediation Center in Baltimore through AmeriCorps. He's coming up on 2 years here and says he'll be hired permanently by the end of the summer.
That sounds like something that you want to do?
At 39 years old, Anderson has spent most of his adult life in prison. He says between 1993 and 2011, he was behind bars all but 18 months, most recently charged with close to 50 counts of burglary.
During the course of my incarceration, I was getting in a lot of trouble. Spent probably 4 years in solitary confinement, but then my son was murdered.
It's what pushed him to stop creating conflict and become part of the solution. After his last 10-year stint in jail, he worked hard to stay employed and out of trouble until all of the pieces fell into place with Erica's help, who began training him as a mediator when he was still behind bars. Even though getting here wasn't easy, Anderson says he doesn't regret a thing.
It was a blessing because it actually gave me time to put myself back together, because I was torn apart. I mean, the person I am today is the person I'm supposed to be. I'm right where I need to be right now. I was in prison because that's where I needed to be at that time, and it saved my life.
Now he's using that life to help make that same impact for other people. He and the rest of the staff at the Community Mediation Center on Greenmount Avenue stay busy working with people all over the city. Last year, taking on 301 cases. The year before that, it was 321. Each free and confidential mediation session lasts for 2 hours, and Bridgeford says there can be as many as needed.
It sounds simple from the outside, but it's really not simple to really sit down and get real about what you think and how you feel, and then to listen to somebody else say it. But the joy in it is if you do it, you get to find out that you actually shift to a different place on your own without somebody telling you you're right and you're wrong and you need to do something different.
They've seen it work and know it has the power to do more, even if it's 2 people at a time. They say the key is getting to the conflict before the thinking even escalates to violence, but it's also going to take more involvement from those outside of it.
We're going to need some kind of intervention. Like, we're going to need people, like everybody, to work together.
We think we don't have a lot of power, so we need to, use violence for our power. But every thought, every choice creates something. You don't get more powerful than that.
Powerful program that they say is working. And now, in addition to grants and fundraising, they're able to provide these mediation sessions for free, thanks to funding from the Maryland Mediation Conflict Resolution Office, or MARCO.